The Labor Day weekend sale is on at Tanger Outlets. Score up to 70% off at top brands like Nike Factory Store, Crocs, J. Crew Factory, Gap Outlet, and so many more. Refresh your wardrobe with the latest arrivals for less from all your favorite brands this Labor Day weekend. Tanger Outlets, always on trend, always on sale. Plan your trip at Tanger.com.
You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Archaeology Show. TAS goes behind the headlines to bring you the real stories about archaeology and the history around us. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Archaeology Show, episode 277.
On today's show, we talk about people finding artifacts or sites by metal detecting, LiDAR, or even just walking around.
Let's dig a little deeper, but not on Labor Day. It's a holiday here in the United States. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Hello.
All right.
Oh.
So, first off.
This is the first time I'm seeing this note. I didn't realize. Whoops.
Yeah, first off, we have a correction, and I must have just got my notes mixed up because I was looking for stuff real quick.
Yeah.
Last week to find out different places where mastodons have been found, just like some famous ones. And the mastodon site, something I really should have stuck in my head, was not found in Florida. It was found in Sequim, Washington, a place we've been.
Oh, okay.
And we know about.
I thought Florida was kind of weird for that, but I just went with it.
It wouldn't surprise me. Maybe the environment is not super conducive to mastodons. Northern Florida, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, they've been found all over the continent, so yeah. I wouldn't count Florida out just because it's Florida. But that being said, the Manus mastodon was definitely not Florida. Yeah. So one of our listeners wrote in and was like, it's
thanks
Sequim.
For that.
And they're lucky I know how to pronounce Sequim because I'm from Washington.
Yes.
So
I did not. I think I said Sequim the first time.
Right. They're probably just like, oh my God, he's totally going to say it. He's going to say Sequim.
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 Yeah.
Sequim. Just so everybody knows, it's spelled Sequim. It's obviously a Native American word. A lot of place names in Washington are, but it's pronounced Sequim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the best Lavender Fest every year.
Oh my God.
Lavender Festival. And we went last year, and I'm dying to go back just to go to that because it was so fun walking around all the farms and smelling all the lavender. It was great. So
okay, but Sequim, you need to listen real quick, especially, dear listener, if you have any control over the Lavender Festival, because some things shouldn't be lavenderized, like hot chocolate.
Oh, that was good.
I didn't like it.
Oh, well, good for you. I did. Although I should probably drink it, shouldn't I? Or did you get rid of it? Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Flowery hot chocolate? No.
You're not invited to my flower hot chocolate party, okay?
Yeah. We also had a complaint that we spent a few minutes talking about not archaeology in one of our reviews.
That's who we are.
Yeah,
sorry.
Get over it.
No, I understand it. We try to stay on topic, but our life just sort of creeps into our podcast sometimes.
So people if you don't like that part of the show, right now, if you wish we were talking about archaeology 3-4 minutes in, you probably ought to go find something else on the Archaeology Podcast Network.
We're just a little more laid back than that.
Yeah. So, or hit your fast forward 30 until you hear the word archaeology.
Yes. Yeah. Until we start sounding like we're reading some notes and then discussing, then you'll get to the not scripted. We're never scripted, but the prepared part of the podcast.
Okay. Let's talk about archaeology.
All right. Archaeology.
Okay, now here is a news article where we will talk about...
No, this is why people think archaeology is boring. No.
I know. All right. So this one's from the Miami Herald.
We have a theme, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wandering around and finding stuff.
Yeah. Metal
detecting, but people just kind of doing their own thing, but finding cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really fun topic to talk about, especially for our audience, because a lot of people are just how do you find archaeology sites and where do you go and what are you looking for and what should you do if you find one? And it seems like the people in these stories that we're going to talk about kind of did the right thing, where they reported it to whoever they needed to report it to, museum, university, agency, stuff like that.
That's because what's a common theme amongst those people? None of them were in the United States. Because otherwise all that crap would be in eBay.
Well, yeah, but I think it happens in the United States too.
No, there's no one to call. That's one problem we have with the United States is there's not a consistent entity to call if you find something. If you find something on British soil, you literally call the authorities, right? Because everything belongs to the crown and everybody knows that. Yeah. Right? Now you might get a fair share, which we'll talk about. Well, I think not in this one. But
we have talked about it in the past.
But a lot of countries have laws where, anything under the ground, antiquities wise, belongs to the country, right?
Well, it's this like shared interest in the history of the country, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people in this country feel like Native American artifacts are not their history, and they don't have as much like interest in them.
But it's not just Native American stuff. There's bottle hunters out there. There's especially in the East Coast here.
Metal detector people.
Oh yeah, metal detectors.
Like battlefield metal detecting. Yeah.
I'm not going to take down metal detectorists. I mean, they're out there doing stuff, but you've got your arrowhead hunters, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got your metal detectorists. And I'm just saying, there is a finders keepers sort of mentality. Like I said, it is partially, there's not a consistent set of laws and regulations. There are some in some places, of course.
Every state has these laws and regulations.
Well, and there's obviously federal ones.
Always have ways of enforcing them very well, I think. So, but we're going to talk about people who did it the right way. And if you're in the United States and you find something, then your best bet is to start at your local museum or your local historical society. Even you're going to find the people that can point you in the right direction. Yeah. So, and it's even if you really want to keep it, just like think about the big picture, and whatever you have found might be so significant that it rewrites the history of that region or that place. And so reporting it is it's the not selfish thing to do. Yeah. So we would encourage everybody to think about it that way.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this one was a man who was he is a metal detectorist, but he actually wasn't metal detecting. He was just decided to go for a walk along a plowed vegetable field in Norway. This is actually back in April, but it's just kind of being reported now. So he was walking along the field, and he is a metal detectorist and a history and archaeology enthusiast. I mean, he lives in Norway. I think kind of anybody lives in that area,
Well, he's walking along a plowed field, and that notoriously plows kick up stuff.
But he knows that, and he's specifically looking for old things.
Exactly. Yeah, so you don't even need a metal detector when you're talking about a freshly plowed field. So
right. Yeah. And I don't know if they've got rules and laws, because I think I remember Scotland being like a right to walk country where you can just walk over people's land.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're transiting one place to the next, obviously you can't trespass into buildings and stuff and damage things. But I guess I don't know if he's walking along this plowed field or just it's okay to just walk in somebody's plowed field. I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, he's walking through this plowed field.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, nobody seemed to care. Yeah. And he saw what he thought looked like bones.
Human bones.
He saw what he thought looked like bones, took a closer look, and then to him, they looked like human bones.
Yeah.
So he, quote, called the officials, and this reminded me of last week where Bulgaria or whatever it was, and archaeology team, assemble. Yeah.
I want to be on that team.
I know, right?
I want to assemble.
It's like Anchorman.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just and they just
and then
up.
Archaeologists arrived.
Yeah. So they showed up. They identified some of the bones as they identified the bones as human, and some of them as arm, leg, and ribs. So my notes say rigs. I just realized.
I know. I was trying not to laugh at that. Anyway, so the archaeologists figured that these were probably part of an old grave, but they weren't sure. They didn't have a date. They didn't know who. And, it's plowed. So when the plow goes through and kicks stuff up, it sort of destroys them a little bit. Yeah. So it looks like it's in pieces when you look at the picture for sure.
Right. And depending on how deep the plow was going and where these were, it could have been dragged all across the field and out of context too. So, it's hard to say, but it looks like these were all in one spot, but
yes, it does. Yeah. But it definitely does kind of destroy the context a little bit, although it's still important to try to excavate and find the rest of it. Cause they might have just scraped the top layer of something, but you get the rest of it underneath it, and you never know what you're going to find underneath it. So, yeah.
So at the same time this was happening, I could only presume nearby because they were able to show up. It didn't actually say where this was, and I didn't bother to look it up, but the Norwegian University of Science and Technology archaeology course was going on. So they sent students out, which talk about a golden opportunity.
I know, right?
But they sent students out to the site to document the bones, and they also searched the surrounding area with metal detectors. And one of the things they found, there's actually a really good picture in the article
it's great.
of this. They were calling it a metal buckle, which They call it a buckle, and I guess that's what it would have been called back then. But to us nowadays, it's more of like a clothespin kind of thing.
It looks like a barrette.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would imagine flipping it over and having the little barrette piece on the other side for hair. It's not, obviously it's not that, but that's the shape. That's right. It's giving me barrette feelings, but yeah. But it's a buckle.
Yeah, they said it was like a modern safety pin kind of deal, used to hold fabric together. And they said typically linked to burials. And I'm like, well, I mean, they had to hold fabric together outside of burials too. Maybe it's just burials is, we don't find living people. So, So you don't find them. Yeah. Well, like what other context would you find them in? It would just be in a burial context. Fell over and died. I mean, and they had their buckled clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course we're going to find it associated with burials, but I had to imagine they would have worn these things like while they were living. Well,
this one does look a little bit elaborate. Like you can see that there's a lot of decoration going on. Yeah. So maybe this was like, the church buckle, and then they got to wear it when they, were buried.
It's just the way that it was worded didn't allude to the fact that it might have been fancy, because it looked pretty dirty. I don't know if they'd actually cleaned it up yet.
It does. But yeah.
They just alluded to this kind of decoration was more burial related.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, okay, sure, I get it, but like, how often do you find bodies that aren't burials?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it would be unusual. So. But they did date this to early on in the Viking Age. So by, I guess, association, you can kind of guess at the bones. They said nearby, and I don't know what nearby means exactly.
How close nearby?
Can you associate this buckle with those bones? They probably needed to do more excavation before they can truly relate those things. But
you read the bottom of this article, and it says they used Google Translate to basically translate this from Norwegian. So it could be that this was found very nearby.
Yeah,
because it sounds like they are associating this with the remains, with the burial, and so they're calling it early Viking, which in this area is the 8th century, and which would be the 700s. So that's what they're saying, which is the early Viking times.
Yeah.
So
they also said that since bones deteriorate quickly when exposed to air, it's clear that the remains have been buried all this time, and with the plowing, it is what pulled them up. So they probably had to get them out of there quickly and get them into a preservation setting so that they wouldn't, decompose.
Yeah, they said this person probably found them pretty soon after they were found, after they were uncovered by the plow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have probably gone away pretty quick.
They would. Yeah.
And the other cool thing is the owner of the field has agreed to basically leave that area untouched. So I guess there won't be any veggies there. So
which is great, but like that field could be hiding a whole entire cemetery, and this is just the first one, No,
he's probably like, my God, please no.
Yeah, I know, probably. Which I totally get. Like, it's hard when you're trying to like make your living off the land, and then the archaeologists come in and are like, no.
Right.
That's why people kind of hate archaeologists sometimes.
Well,
but
you could look at the historical record, and I don't actually know the answer to this question. I haven't done enough research on it, but were there Viking cemeteries necessarily?
Oh,
or
that's
were
true.
They
I don't know if they did that like that.
Solo burials,
I know they used ships sometimes.
Well,
that's all I know though. Ships.
Oh, ships. Oh, yeah, ships. Oh, you said chips. I was like, do they bury them with Pringles? No. What's going on here?
Oh my God.
So
no.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So this is, if you're trying to locate this in Norway, this is actually really far north of Norway, near the small coastal town of Austrat, which is about 350 miles north of Oslo. And that's getting pretty far up in Norway.
Yeah.
I mean, quite a ways up the coast there. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're looking at actually still kind of playing with the dates, but we're looking at possibly doing a cruise along the coast of Norway after we do our little Sweden adventure next March. So, which we'll talk about a lot more later on, but man, that'd be super cool. We've been going right by this town.
Yeah.
And it does, the cruise like pops in during the 4 days, and I don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the cruises do. So I doubt it hits this small town, but that would be really cool if we were somewhere near.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of neat taking a boat up and down the coast of kind of like the west coast of Norway. Well, there's only a west coast of Norway. The east coast of Norway is Sweden.
It's Sweden.
But
it's not a coast. It's a border, but yes. I guess there's that little bit at the bottom, but
yeah. So, but just taking a boat and just thinking, doing it on like a cruise ship and thinking, man, Vikings did this too, and lots of people have done this, and just the history behind it is so crazy.
Yeah.
Like when we did it in the Adriatic in Greece, and the different boats and historical figures that had actually sailed those waters.
The Venetians ruined everything.
Yeah.
I think is what we learned on that cruise at every port we stopped at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
All right. Well, let's find out what happens on the other side of the break when you wander away from your responsibilities and you find a Roman campsite.
I'm not sure that's an accurate description of what happened, but go on.
Well, all right. See you in a minute. Welcome back to episode 277 of the Archaeology Show. Rachel's laughing hysterically right now. She doesn't want me to say that because she's going to edit this out probably.
Yep. It's gone.
Yep.
Done.
Yep. Anyway.
It's just like I'm done with that joke.
All right. This one is called Volunteer Notices Buried Structure on Mountaintop and Finds Ancient Roman Campsite While Completely Neglecting Their Duties and Wandering Around while everyone else is working.
That is not true. That is not what happened.
All right. What happened?
Yeah. This is a little different from, somebody just like stumbling upon, a site with a metal detector.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I feel like this guy. Okay. So what happened is that somebody decided to look in another area that, not to bury the lead or anything, but he decided to look somewhere else and found some stuff.
Not to excavate the lead?
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah, that. So, but I think that is less like stumbling upon something and more like following a hunch, kind of, So I think it's kind of cool. But basically, in 2021, there's a project to study a Roman era battlefield in the Swiss Alps. It was a well-known battlefield, and they just were there to excavate, study, learn all about Romans doing battle stuff, basically. Mm-hmm. I don't know who they were fighting. Anyway, so they don't exactly say who they were fighting, but I guess it doesn't really matter. The Romans were always fighting somebody at that point, right? Yeah.
They fought whoever they could find.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Roman.
Whoever was trying to encroach, they were fighting them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so archaeologists, university students, and volunteers all together worked to learn more about what these guys were doing at this battlefield site.
Yeah. So this one person decided to look at a spot that they hadn't actually looked in before, and it was the mountaintop Combe Larunga.
I'm leaving all that in. That is staying gold right there.
Combe Larunga.
Yeah.
I almost said I couldn't get Roomba out of my head.
Roomba?
Yeah, Combe Larunga.
It's not a vacuum.
I know. The mountain of vacuums. That's what they were doing.
No,
Combe Larunga.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a peak in the, this is a good one, Graubünden region,
yeah, not bad.
Which is a roughly 100-mile drive east of Zurich near the border with Italy.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this is that the peak itself is located 3,000 feet above the battlefield and a total of 7,200 feet above sea level. So we're talking like some height here and well above where the battle took place, too.
Yeah. Who's like, hey, should we scan that peak 3,000 feet away?
I know.
Because everybody's like, listen, Charlie, we're doing a lot of work here. You want to take the LiDAR and head over there? You go right ahead.
But if it's like right above the battlefield, I could see it being logical to look there because, there might be scouts up there, lookouts, all kinds of different military guys doing military things. I don't know anything about the military, but yeah. So this volunteer, he used LiDAR to scan the peak, and in using the LiDAR, noticed buried structures up there. I feel like they should have been fairly obvious if they were walking around up there too. You can't do LiDAR from afar, can you? Okay,
here's the thing. LiDAR is done from a plane.
Oh, so they're flying around in an airplane doing this. Or a drone.
There's LiDAR-mounted drones these days. That's a lot more expensive.
So they didn't have to hike 3,000 feet up to this peak. They were doing it remotely, probably.
You can't actually do like your phones have LiDAR these days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're like newer iPhones after the last like 3 or 4 years have LiDAR in them. And LiDAR, all it is light detection and ranging. That's what LiDAR stands for. So it's using light to bounce off things and then to measure them, right? But if you're doing something on a landscape scale, you're doing it from a height, which means you're doing it from a drone, you're doing it from a plane, you're doing it from a helicopter. So they must have had something to allow them to do this on the spot, right? They may not have just had ready LiDAR imagery. Interestingly enough, there are a lot of places, I don't know how other countries are doing this, but there's a lot of places in the United States that just have stock LiDAR imagery. Lake Tahoe is one of the ones that comes to mind.
Oh,
You can just find LiDAR imagery all around Lake Tahoe right now if you want to go look at it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have to pay for it, but it's with the U.S. Geological Survey, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way, however they got it, they did use it to look for whatever structures, evidence of the military presence, and they were able to identify a 2,000-year-old military camp on the top of this peak.
Yeah, because one of the things, if you guys aren't familiar, that LiDAR does is you've got a lot of vegetation and I mean, these are pretty sparse peaks. Like there's not a lot of veg on top of them.
Yeah.
There's some trees and stuff like that. But still, when you're like walking around, it's difficult to pick things out. It might be a rock formation or something like that. But when you're up high, even without LiDAR, when you're up high, you might say, hey, that doesn't look natural.
Like that line looks a little too straight or something.
I mean, nature can make some pretty straight lines, but still.
Yeah.
But when you use LiDAR, you can see really strip away that kind of vegetative layer, because the photons can make it through all those things and they get down to the surface level. And because of the thing that's shooting the LiDAR, whether it's a plane, a drone, or whatever, is moving, right? Yeah. So it's constantly getting around all these things and painting this picture. And you can really see it's like getting right down to the skin level.
A stone structure would become very visible.
Yeah.
With that technique, it sounds like. So, yeah. And that's what this was. They found 3 ditches and a rampart barrier.
Yeah. Like a wall.
Yeah. Like a wall, basically. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the thing that this article said is that this location, sort of up above the battlefield and sort of high up in the mountains, would have given them, quote, control over the surrounding valleys and passes. And I took a little bit of exception to that word, because I'm like, how much control could a small military camp way up in the mountains have over anything? It's more of like a lookout situation, right?
You don't
know? No, I don't know.
They could notify the people down in the valley using the speed of light technology that they had.
The speed of light technology?
Yeah. You don't know?
Oh, are you talking about Lord of the Rings?
It's not even a joke. People used to do that.
Lighting the bonfires?
All you have to do is light a big signal fire.
Yeah.
And the minute you do that, somebody knows something's up.
Yeah. But you're also signaling to the whoever's invading that you have seen them, right?
Obviously, you take a chance.
Yeah.
Right? So, but if the invading army is on one side of the valley and your signal fire's on the other side of the valley, where you're on the other side of the peak, where your people are, then maybe they won't see it. But of course, you're letting off a lot of smoke. So I don't know. You got to figure out a way to do it. But But obviously, I would rather warn my people and risk the other guys knowing as well. But also now they know, and they know they've lost the element of surprise.
Right.
So, you know.
Well, I guess, I mean, it sounds like it was a pretty small camp up there. It's definitely like not super accessible being so high up.
Sure.
So, but I guess.
Speed of light technology.
Speed of light. I should have known you were referring to that one scene in the one Lord of the Rings movie.
It made me so happy because watching those fires go across the mountains and they just let somebody know, I mean, presumably hundreds of miles away within, 20 minutes that, I mean, it was probably within like an hour because they had to light the fires. But still, I mean, for a message to travel that far was just astonishing.
That message is so vague to me, though, because it could be like, I'm hungry, can I have a cheeseburger? You know?
There's only one time. There's only one message that
like,
they're told to light that fire for.
I need food.
Right.
Somebody bring me a cheeseburger.
Maybe the message was, I'm cold. I'm lighting a fire.
Right. Vague messages. I don't think I can handle that.
Like some new guy gets up there. Hey, I'm going to go light the fire. No!
Right. Okay. All right. I guess you've convinced me that could have given them control, maybe.
Right.
So they did do some excavation up there and some metal detecting because, that's what you do at a Roman site. And they found equipment and weapons like arrowheads, slingshots, and nails that were clearly left behind by Roman soldiers.
Yeah, they didn't need them. They had plenty.
Yeah, well, and those artifacts that they found date to about 20 BCE. So right in the time frame that they're looking for. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, LiDAR.
When those guys got down off the... down off the mountain, they went down in the village after they basically saved the village because they used their signal fires. And the villagers were like, so apart from
there it is,
the
I expected
aqueducts,
that joke.
The faster than light technology, what have the Romans ever done for us?
The roads? Did you say the roads?
Well, they knew about the roads. All right, so on the other side of the break, more Vikings. Welcome back to Archaeology Show, the episode 277.
That's like more annoying.
I just wanted us filed correctly.
You can tell that it's like the end of a long day. We're a little bit delirious right now.
I just want us to be filed correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. In case this segment gets separated from the rest.
I always sort it at the top, even though technically it's the Archaeology Show. Like always, it's just straight to the top.
In what?
Like on my files and stuff like that. And
like in your files of life?
Like my computer files. My brain files.
You can't just sort your computer files wherever you want. Well, it's going to sort naturally.
Well, I just dropped the I guess is what I'm not including that. I just drop it so it's at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think our other podcast hosts would appreciate that.
Well, it's my show.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I'll allow you to be on my show, I guess.
All right. Well, this article is from the journal artnet.com. It's not a journal at all.
It's not a journal. None of these stories are journals. They're all press releases. Yeah. They are not.
Yeah. This is some aggregator that wanted a click that we gave to them.
Yeah, we did. That's fine, though.
It's fine. Yeah. I mean, if they hadn't done it, I wouldn't have seen it.
This is real life, though. Like, people find stuff like this all the time. And I think it's important to talk about it. And to especially talk about it when they do it the right way. Right. And this guy kind of did it the right way, as we will talk about it.
Well, he's a student. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, archaeology student stumbles. I don't like that word. But anyway, stumbles on a cache of Danish Viking silver. So, Gustav Brunsgaard, who is a 22-year-old student from Denmark's Aarhus University. And we know somebody from Aarhus.
We do?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Our friend in Reno is actually from Aarhus, not Copenhagen. Yeah. Working with metal detector near the village of Elsted, found a silver bracelet that dated to the Viking Age in Denmark. We'll get to the date a little bit later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And he is an archaeology student, so he knows about archaeology. He knows about things. And apparently just like metal detecting is a thing that you can do. And he was just doing it.
Sounds like it. I mean, we hear about these stories all the time. Yeah. So, yeah. But the thing that I was like, wait, what? Is that he returned a few times over the next few days and found 6 more bracelets. So I'm like, why did he keep returning and not throw up a flag and say, hey, I found something cool. Like maybe we should do an excavation. Yeah.
When was he going to let people know about this?
Yeah.
Unless he did, which is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is again like a press release kind of thing.
Yeah, it is.
Like a town press release.
Right.
So, I mean, he brought all of them to the Mosgard Museum for further examination.
Yeah. So he did.
Yeah. And he may have been bringing them one at a time, and they may have said, hey, go out there and see if you can find more.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
like where you find one, there might be more, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, when I was talking in the beginning of this episode about here in the United States, how, if you find something and you don't know who to call, contact a local, museum, or not like an art museum, but like a natural history museum. If you can find it in an archaeology museum or something, that's even better. But, university, something. But to be honest, they're probably not going to have time to deal with it. They may not have the resources.
That's true.
They may not even have the people. Who knows? Right. So, they might just be like, okay, so you're qualified. You're a student in archaeology. Just go back and see what else you can find, because that's okay. You have permission on the land. You know what you're doing. Have at it, buddy. And also, like, we have an entire museum over here full of Viking stuff, so it's cool. But anyway.
But these do look really exceptional when you look at the picture. They're nicely laid out in the photo, and there's a couple more plain ones, but there are some that are like really nicely decorated. So they look pretty fancy. Yeah. So what he found were bracelets. Yeah. Like we said, and he found what did we say? We said 6 of them, right? I think there's 7 total.
6 or 7 total.
7 total. Yeah.
Now, they were called, actually, back in the day, they were called bangles. Yeah. We know them as bracelets.
Hold on. We still call these kind of bracelets bangles.
I don't know. I don't call them bangles.
Well, we wouldn't. You don't wear them.
Do I wear
but
bangles?
if you tell a woman, like, they were bangles, she's like, yeah, okay, got it. I know exactly what that is. That's what these are, bangles.
Okay, I thought Bangles was a band, but anyway.
Yes, also that. Is that Walk Like an Egyptian? Right?
Is that the Bangles?
Maybe? I think so.
I don't know.
I'll cut that out if I'm wrong. I'll leave it in if I'm right.
You'll probably leave it in either way.
Yeah.
We'll just insert Walk Like an Egyptian. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, they dated to about the 9th century. So still the Viking Age in Denmark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy, just after the founding of the town of Aarhus itself.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But Danish Vikings actually did wear a fair amount of jewelry here.
Yeah.
So... And a lot of this jewelry that we see here was decorated with engravings of spiritual and mythological significance, like images of Norse gods, like some of the big ones like Odin, Freya, and Thor. Freya's one I've heard of, but I don't really know Freya as much as like Thor and Odin, obviously.
And I'm like looking at one of these and it definitely looks like a snake. So who does the snake represent? Or were snakes just, I guess it could have just been important to the person or the region or the culture or something too. Doesn't that one that's real coiled up look like a snake?
It kind of looks like a snake. Yeah. But we can't really see the detail and things on this. And sometimes things are represented in an abstract way, and the people studying these probably know what those mean.
They know what it means. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, the cool thing is these also probably had to deal with showing how wealthy the Vikings were as well, because these were made as the same material as Viking currency. And they must know this through their study, or they wouldn't have just said this. I feel like it'd be kind of a stretch if it were the first time I was hearing it, but they said that because it's made of the same material as Viking currency, basically silver, it means that would have demonstrated the owner's wealth and could have functioned as a means of payment. Now, demonstrating wealth, I understand. Yeah. Made of silver, sure. But also demonstrated a function as a means of payment. Is it really something you'd have been like, well, will you take this?
Pull it off your arm and that seems crazy.
Could you use it as currency? I mean, I guess you could have if you just take silver.
I mean, I'm sure anybody would take it as payment, but
turn it away probably.
But like if you're rich enough that you can make a bracelet out of coins and then walk around wearing that feels like the more important piece, is that they could just wear coins rather than using them to buy things, But
the thing I would wonder is, would something like that back then have been valued in the same way that, say, jewelry is valued today? Because jewelry today is often way more value than its weight in the jewels and the metal.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Especially depending on who designed it, how old it is. There's a lot of value wrapped up in just the rarity of it, or something like that, right? Or the designer of it.
It's not just the materials.
It's definitely not the material. Yeah. Like we were having some ridiculous conversation I don't even want to repeat about purses earlier, about like some sort of like ridiculous purse that's worth like that's worth like $30,000.
Yeah, they're worth like so much money.
The material's actually worth about probably $200.
Yeah, it's all about the designer,
right?
Yeah.
So and that's what we're talking about though. So I'm wondering back then, like if you would they be like, oh, so here I've got this silver, you can weigh it with your little scale there. But like this was designed by...
Yeah, but also this is like to the Norse god Odin, and
or
it's
just
got
like
this
look
decoration
at how
on
fancy
it.
Yeah,
I mean like all of that could make it worth a lot more. So
maybe, I don't know. Was it though? Did they care like merchants? I don't know. Could you say it was more valuable?
I don't know.
Or is it just worth its weight?
I mean, I feel like it was more just like personal decoration.
Yeah.
And a way to show how wealthy you were to other people.
Sure.
That feels like the right thing, but yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about this too is that bracelets didn't actually, or these bangles didn't actually originate with the Vikings. They got this idea from Russia and Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
Because they kind of invented all this apparently in that area.
Yeah.
And then a lot of this actually ended up in Ireland. So, and this was after the Vikings. So they mentioned in the article, this article being written by people over in Denmark. Well, it was translated and written, this was ArtNet, whatever the hell. But the original article was written by people over in Denmark. And they're like, oh, it demonstrates the multicultural influences of their design and this expansive trading network. And I'm like, I know Vikings weren't just all rapers and pillagers. I know they did trade, but come on. I mean, the extensive trading network, I get it. But I mean, they did like...
But also a lot of like pillaging too.
But also a lot of pillaging, right? Like, did they go to Ireland and be like, hey, you want to trade for some, this? Or did they just like, Did they just like drop a bracelet by accident when they were like destroying an entire village, and then another person picked it up and was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm going to make something like that now. I know. Since my entire village burned down, I think I'll just take this. Yeah. So, no, I think we shouldn't disparage Vikings like that. No. Yeah.
I mean, and the transmission of information and ideas like that certainly did happen. And to see it go from Russia all the way across Europe and then over into Ireland is really cool. Yeah. Like that is like a really important thing to see in these items,
Right. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really neat.
So they'll have these on display for a little while in the Mulsgaard Museum in Jutland for a bit, and then later they'll be transferred to the National Museum of Denmark in Copenhagen.
Yeah,
which would
that's
be cool.
Great. And this is like the outcome you want for somebody who is just out metal detecting, right? Like he found some stuff, he did the right thing, he called the right people, and now it's going to be in a museum, and he can go to that museum and be like, I found those.
Right.
I think that is so cool. I love that.
And some people in this country might be thinking, not everybody, especially probably people who are listening to this show, but there's a lot of people that do try to find stuff for profit, right? Mm-hmm. And some people might be thinking, well, this is why I would never tell the country or whatever about what I find, because now I can't sell it, blah, blah, blah. And some things, you're right, you actually can't sell them. But there was another article I saw. I only kind of skimmed it. It was a little short, so we didn't really put it in the show. But it was over, God, I want to say it was England, actually, but I can't remember where it was. But somebody was metal detecting again, and they found a hoard of coins.
Oh.
And I can't remember where it was, somewhere over in that direction. But they found all these coins, and they found so many that the town council took some, this museum took some, this other one took some, and the person who originally found them was left with what was left. And they estimated that at auction, they could get about 75,000 British pounds for these coins. Yeah. If they sold them. Mm-hmm. So they weren't left with nothing. Right. Yeah. Now, if you just find artifacts, I mean, chances are these are going to a museum and they're probably not going to compensate you for that.
Yeah, well, it depends on the country and the laws, right? Like, I think there is a finder's fee or whatever.
It just depends.
In some countries, yeah. So, yeah. So,
kind of depends on who you are, too. This archaeology student probably wasn't looking for money.
No, I mean, there's a lot of hobbyists out there, for sure, that are just trying to find cool things, and then they, don't necessarily want to keep them, which I think is really cool.
Right.
Yeah. But don't sell it. Don't add to the black market.
Yeah.
When you add to it, then it just makes people go out and want to find more things. And then the market just continues to exist. And that's why we have this whole black market of artifacts out in the world that we shouldn't be participating in. So,
which is crazy, because I do want people to go out and find more things, but I want them to want to do the right thing and have it so we can learn from it and document it and tell somebody where it is so we can go find more about it and learn more and do stuff. And if there just wasn't a monetary value to these things, but we knew there was a cultural value to it, then
the black market it drives the monetary value,
well, of course,
to some extent.
I know,
so the more there is there, the higher the monetary value is. And it's like a never ending cycle, though. I don't really know how you break it.
You break it by shaming people to have that stuff displayed, because the only reason there's a black market is somebody wants it displayed on their mantelpiece or in their house and say, look what I've got. But if you walk in and be like, I can't believe you have that displayed, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And if you just say that to them, I mean, you can't say it to your grandpa, because your grandpa probably has an arrowhead display framed up on their wall, right? But that was back in the day, right? So, but I'm just saying, a lot of people probably have an older relative that has something like that. Yeah. But again, that was something found in a plowed field, or just on their land, and there's not much we can do about that. But somebody who's ask them about it. And somebody who's got something in a glass display case with a light shining down on it or something, you're like, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, I picked that up a year ago when I was a year ago. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Do you know? Blah, 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 blah. You're a terrible person. Grandma.
I mean, okay, we're not shaming people. We're just trying to educate on the right way to do things.
No, you actually slap them and then you send them to the garage without their dinner.
No.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Educate them, but
education.
They really shouldn't leave it, right?
Yeah.
And the minute they know that that's a bad thing, they won't hopefully go out and buy another one.
Right.
So, and then there's no black market.
Yeah. That's a rosy. There's
only a market if people want them.
It's a really rosy, easy view of how to get rid of the black market.
I'm just saying, there's only a market if people want it.
It's a little harder than that, I think. But yeah, I mean, we should all be working towards getting rid of it for sure.
All right. Well, that's really hard, but it's not hard to get rid of this podcast. So I'm done with it. No, I'm not done with it. But I'm done with this episode.
I think we're done.
Yeah. Okay. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Archaeology Show. Feel free to comment and view the show notes on the website at www.archpodnet.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at ArchPodNet. Music for this show is called I Wish You Would Look from the band Sea Hero. Again, thanks for listening and have an awesome day. This episode was produced by Chris Webster from his RV traveling the United States, Tristan Boyle in Scotland, DigTech LLC, Cultural Media, and the Archaeology Podcast Network, and was edited by Rachel Roden.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.